So, Bobo back with you here again this afternoon. Today I'm going to begin with a story about a second flight I had with one of my first students, Lloyd. And again, bless his heart, Lloyd tried to kill me. At any rate, it was all done in pure incidents. I think it might have been Jim Null that once said the only difference between a UPT student and a North Vietnamese gunner is on graduation day, the student thought he liked you. Well, this might be an expression of that case. Anyway, we were on an advanced contact sortie. He had probably had his check ride and we're just flying for proficiency. The mission profile included all the over-the-top maneuvers. Now, an over-the-top maneuver required an entry airspeed of 450 to 500 knots, and we used 4.5 to 5 Gs typically. They weren't at all bad to perform, but to sit through them, they could be somewhat disorienting, and that's what bit me that day. So we go out to the area, get established, usually at 17,000 feet, 300 knots, roll it over, start downhill in military power to pick up the speed needed for a loop. So we did this loop, and then that was followed by an Emmelman, which we rolled out on top, and then to a split S maneuver, and we came down through the split S, did a clearing maneuver to set up for the next maneuver, a cloverleaf. Now, a cloverleaf, by the book, is done with 4 leaves of a cloverleaf. It's essentially what you do is you start uphill, and about midway through coming up, you rotate 90 degrees and then come down and repeat the same thing 4 times. And then the last maneuver we did in that profile was a Cuban 8. Again, a Cuban 8 is a 4.5 to 5 G pull, 500 knots, and you pull up, and on the back side, you roll 180 degrees and then do that. So essentially what you make is an 8, called a Cuban 8. So as we come out of all these maneuvers, I'm sitting in the back seat, somewhat dazed, I guess. It's, again, when you fly the maneuver, it's not too bad, but boy, when you sit there, it can get tasking. So I take the airplane, and when I took the airplane, my gyros were just sitting there going like so. So I pull it up into the vertical, and when I pull it up in the vertical, I don't know why, I pull the power back to a mid-power setting, and usually when we pull into the vertical for a vertical recovery or nose-high recovery, what we do is we roll to the nearest horizon, pull down, and then roll wings level and go about our flight. Well, as I'm pulling up, I start a slow roll, looking for the nearest horizon, and then all of a sudden it dawns on me, it's all near. And I think to myself, I must be going straight up. So I look in to see what the attitude indicator was, and sure enough, we're going straight up. Then I looked over, saw the airspeed, and it's rapidly going through 100 knots. So not to miss a point of instruction, I said to Lloyd, I said, "Say, Lloyd," I said, "have you ever seen what happens to a T-38 when we run out of airspeed going straight up?" And he said, "No, sir." Now, a vertical stall in T-38 was a prohibitive maneuver. Well, I would have liked to have gotten out of it, but in that case, I didn't have any flying airspeed, so I was along for the ride. So was Lloyd. So anyway, we come to a stop going straight up, and then we start backsliding. And during the backslide, at some point, the airplane pitched over and ended up in a nose-low attitude like this, just coming down. And then the wings started rocking. So here we are, we're descending in inverted in a nose-low attitude, probably about 120, 130 knots, somewhere in that area. I'm taking the throttles, pushing them up, not gaining speed, and I started fighting the roll with aileron. So I continue to fight this thing going downhill. I'm going from military. I didn't want to light the burners because I was afraid of compressor stalls, because I didn't have that great airflow through the engine, through the intakes at that time. So I'm coming downhill, and I'm running out of ideas. At 10,000 feet, AGL, our governing manual, commanded a bailout 10,000 feet above the ground in an uncontrolled jet. Well, we were rapidly approaching that. And I'm running out of ideas. I don't know what Lloyd was thinking. I didn't ask him. But anyway, as we got down around 14,000 feet, and like I said, I didn't know what else to do, I heard this voice in my head that said, "Hey, Bob, just let go. Just let go." I knew the T-38 was an inherently stable aircraft for a trainer like that, especially for a swept wing trainer. And so I thought, well, what the hell? I'm running out of ideas. So I just put my hands up and let go. And I'll be darned, that airplane stabilized. The wing rock stopped, and it just kind of stabilized there for a moment. Nose started coming down a little deeper, and we started to gain some airspeed, ever so slowly. But we did start to gain airspeed. I watched the airspeed climb to 150, 160 knots, and then I knew we were going to be okay. At about 180 knots, I generally began rolling wings level, and we were able to recover the aircraft right around 12,000, 11,500 perhaps, and fly out of it. I never did that again. Once was enough. But that voice, just let go, Bob. Just let go. I heard that just as clear as a bell. And I've heard that other times in my life when I've tried to control things, and this voice says, "Hey, Bob, just let go. Just go with it." And what I've discovered is when I do let go, life goes a little easier for Bob. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.